Hello and welcome back to the same old Arsenal Extra Time with myself, Harry Symeou. I'm your host this evening. I'm your host always on Same Old Arsenal Extra Time. But tonight I'm riding solo, unfortunately. So we're going to take a look back at the win over Manchester United. I say win because I feel so positive for once. The defeat at Old Trafford. Although we got beat, this latest defeat wasn't surrounded by the same sort of negativity that we normally see when we lose a big game. There were some real positives to take from this one. The Arsenal starting lineup had an average age of 24 years and 67 days. Now that is our youngest lineup since 2011. August, when we lost 8-2 at Old Trafford. So I'm sure most of us feared the worst when the team was announced. But you know what? Speaking about the team, at first I was a little concerned, and I put a tweet out, I think, where I said something along the lines of, it's Manchester United, and we always want to beat Manchester United no matter what. But you have to understand that, the Premier League is not our priority anymore. And I don't think there'll be many people out there who had a problem with sort of Wenger's decision to pick the lineup that he did. Now, we saw some players get some chances. Konstantinos Mavropanos in particular played at centre-back, and he impressed pretty much everybody. Now, great, he had a good game and he performed really well, looks physically up to the task, looks comfortable with both feet, doesn't look slow, because that's something that I heard about him in the past. Being of Greek origin, I've heard quite a bit about him in the past as he's been coming through. But I think a lot of people criticised him for a lack of pace. I didn't see that yesterday, but then I guess, it's early days still, and we have to, see how it goes and see how he's going to develop and how he's going to kick on. Hopefully the new manager, whoever that may be, will be able to get that out of him. Now, there was a touch of class from Manchester United before the game, and I don't often say this about them because during the era I was growing up in particular, Manchester United were our biggest rivals. And so I would probably say that I hate them as much, if not more, than I hate Tottenham. And that's a big statement, So it was nice to see Arsene Wenger honoured. It really was, because I think in many ways, and in particular, having watched the feud on Channel 5 just a few nights prior, I think it's evident that Manchester United benefited from Wenger coming along, because they improved because they had to improve. And Arsene Wenger's rivalry with Sir Alex was one of the highlights of football, and probably one of the greatest eras that we'll ever see in English football. And I'm just thrilled that we got to see it, even if it didn't always go our way. Right, let's start off with some player ratings. Obviously watched the game, made some player ratings here. David Ospina, I'm going to give him a 6.5, and the reason for that is I don't think he done anything majorly wrong. I don't think he done anything spectacular. There was one moment where he came out like Superman towards a cross, and fortunately I think a free kick was given in our favour because he was nowhere near the ball, so we got away with that. But it wasn't a bad performance from David Ospina. I always think he looks comfortable with the ball at his feet, even if it gives us a heart attack sometimes. He very rarely loses the ball in that position, and it's important when you're talking about ball retention. Now, Hector Bellerin, I gave him a 7 yesterday. I thought he broke forward very well. Again, he looked a bit shaky defensively at times, but I think with Hector Bellerin, it's important to remember that a lot of that is down to the fact that he ends up playing our entire right flank on his own, because whether it's Ozil, whether it's Mkhitaryan, given that position, they don't always fulfill their defensive duties. So I've given Hector Bellerin a 7 there. Callum Chambers, an 8. Now, I've been highly critical of Callum Chambers in the past, rightly or wrongly, but I thought yesterday he looked really comfortable and looked very professional in everything he'd done. Him and Mavropanos together looked particularly good and solid, and they looked as though they'd been playing together for years, which was impressive. So Mavropanos gets an 8 from me as well. So there's 2 8s there in the Arsenal defence. That's almost unheard of. Sead Kolasinac, 6.5 for me. At times looked back to his brilliant physical best barging people off the ball, blocking people off, carrying the ball forward. But then at times he was giving the ball away rather cheaply and just looked like he lacked a bit of sharpness. And I know he got injured early in the second half, but I'm not sure he had the legs to last the 90 minutes anyway. Granit Xhaka. Now, this was a tough one because if I was going to base it solely on his first half performance, I'd have given him a 4. But I think he really improved in the second half. And so for that reason, I'm going to give Granit Xhaka a 6.5 because I feel as though, you know, he was at fault for the first goal, probably should have tracked Paul Pogba, made that pathetic excuse for a slide tackle in an attempt to sort of break the play up earlier on in the phase. But then he failed to get up and track Pogba. And that really wound me up. I know Graham Souness went absolutely apeshit about it on Sky Sports. I thought Graham Souness was a bit overly critical, if I'm being honest. But that's the thing with Granit Xhaka, isn't it? This season he's been very up and down. I thought in the second half, brilliant. First half, though, non-existent. Played a massive part as well in the Henrik Mkhitaryan goal because it was him that won the ball back. Ainsley Maitland-Niles, man of the match, no doubt about it. I was glad to see Sky give that to him as well. I've given him a 9 out of 10. I thought he was classy when in possession. I thought he worked extremely hard. He's got a coolness and a calmness about his game, and he always seems so calm and collective, which is really important in the middle of the park. I think we're only now starting to see how good this boy is because, you know, what we have seen of him so far, he's been forced to play left back, left wing back, right wing back, whatever you want to call it. And so, you know, credit to him. He said in his post-match, when asked about Arsene Wenger, you know, that the boss had put his faith in him and he delivered. And that's exactly right. Nice to see a bit of self-confidence with the youngsters as well. I always enjoy that, I must say. Reiss Nelson. I'm not sure about Reiss Nelson yesterday. Tidy in patches, but sort of there was a couple of times where I thought he looked a little weak physically. There was one instance in particular where he tried to go past Nemanja Matic and he sort of he knocked the ball past him and Matic just stood his ground and Nelson couldn't get around him. And so I think Nelson's got some work to do physically. We know he's talented. We know he's skillful. We know he's creative. Hopefully he gets the chances he needs, but that's one still in development for me. So I'm going to give Reiss Nelson a 6, I think. Might be a bit harsh. Let me know what you think in the comments, of course. Alex Iwobi. Now, this man has taken a lot of stick over the last few weeks, months in particular, from our fans. Now, interesting thought here. I don't know what you guys think. Let me know in the chat section below. Whether you're watching live or not, just let us know in the comments what you think about this. But what about the possibility of Alex Iwobi playing in a deeper role on a more permanent basis? Because yesterday he was one of the midfield 3, if you like, as opposed to being one of the front 3, and I thought that suited him better. I think he's always been good in possession in the sense that he doesn't give the ball away much. I don't think anyway. I don't think he gives the ball away as much as some others. He's very physical. He's good at protecting the ball, shielding the ball. My criticism of Alex Iwobi has always been his inability to finish, his inability to produce that killer pass. But I think in that midfield position, he doesn't need to do that so much. And if you look back to the games at Stamford Bridge earlier on in the season, the Premier League one, and of course the League Cup semi-final, I thought he defended very well for the team. And I thought I think that's a quality that people don't always speak about when talking about Alex Iwobi. So I gave Alex Iwobi a 7. Don't know. Maybe I'd like to see him try that in a slightly different position. Let's see how that one develops. Henrik Mkhitaryan got an 8 for me. Brilliant to see him back in the team. He was playing as if he had a real point to prove up at Old Trafford. And, you know, you can't blame him. You know, this is a guy who was blatantly sort of told he wasn't good enough up at Manchester United. I can tell you something, he is good enough in terms of quality. Perhaps his attitude wasn't always right during his time there, but he seems to be getting on with things pretty well at Arsenal. Took his goal brilliantly, I thought. The way he sort of cut the ball back across the goal, it always makes it difficult for the keeper. Had a bit of fortune that went through the defender's legs. and David De Gea was stranded. But for 75 minutes, he was on the pitch. I thought he was brilliant, probably Arsenal's best player, aside from Maitland-Niles, of course. Now, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, I've given him a 5. And a gentleman on YouTube in the comments, Lucas Podalix, says Aubameyang plays better with Lacazette. That might well be the case. I just feel as though Aubameyang at times, what's the word? I don't want to say that he hides in a game, because I don't think that's the case. I think he ends up being a little isolated, and I think that was the case yesterday. Was hardly involved. I think he had there was a header in the first half, a cross came over, and he got his head to it and it went just wide. And I thought he could have done a little bit better there. Maybe I'm being overly critical. Let me know what you think. I just think, you know, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang has taken to life at Arsenal pretty well so far. But there have been a couple of games where he's been anonymous, and yesterday was one of them. So I'm going to give Aubameyang a 5. Now, we've got some comments coming in live. Bob Vape says it'll be interesting to see how the new manager plays our up-and-coming players. Marble Halls TV, another great channel. Check it out. Iwobi did well. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang didn't get the service. He's not good with intricate play. He needs through balls over the top. And Chipsy Bombastic says, start Mavropanos ahead of Koscielny in Madrid, please. Now, you're not the only one to say that, mate. A few people have spoken about the possibility of him playing a part in Madrid. Now, I'm not actually sure if he's registered in our Europa League squad. That's something I'll need to check. Rather than giving out false information, I'll go away and check that one. But yeah, talking about the Greek defender, you know, positive debut, no doubt about it. Definitely one for the future, and hopefully we will see a manager come in who can help him push on a level, because we know that defending has not necessarily been Arsene Wenger's area of expertise over the past few years, and so you know, hopefully the player gets the support that he needs. Chipsy Bombastic says he is registered. That's great news. Thanks for confirming that. I don't know if I would start him. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Starting him seems a little bit risky to me, if I'm being honest. Although I rate him highly based on what I've seen. You know, this is a guy with pretty much zero experience at the top level. He was playing in Greece, and I know better than most of that league is not competitive. You know, this is going to be the first year in donkeys that Olympiacos aren't going to win it. So we'll have to see how that one develops. Start him in Madrid. I'm not sure. Let us know what you guys think. Bob Vape says Ainsley Maitland-Niles in Madrid for me has the energy and the speed. This might sound controversial, but I'd start him ahead of Jack Wilshere. I really would. I think we're going to need legs in Madrid. And I think one of the reasons we performed pretty well yesterday was because we had legs. We had a midfield capable of pressing. We had, and you know, Granit Xhaka at times, I know he didn't play great for the whole game yesterday, but at times looked better because he had a midfield with legs around him. We know he's not the most mobile of players, and when you stick Jack Wilshere in there with him, then you know that midfield looks a bit slow for me. Not too sure what you guys think on that. Let me know. Our defensive shape is another thing I want to mention. I thought we were a lot more compact yesterday. The defense looked more narrow, and I don't know if that's because we had a change in personnel or because they'd been watching Atletico last Thursday night, but there seemed to be smaller spaces between each defender, and as a unit we looked pretty solid, it has to be said, you know, but for a Marouane Fellaini, you know, I don't even know what you want to call that, Route 1 football, Tony Pulis football, from Manchester United. Who was it? Somebody said on, I think it was on Arsenal Fan TV, that they're just a glorified Stoke. And I mean, when you're seeing them pump balls into the penalty area like that, looking for Fellaini, then it's hard to argue with that, isn't it? I guess. Chipsy Bombastic is asking me what my prediction is for Thursday. Now, I think we're going to do it. I'm confident. I'm confident that we can go there and we can score first. And if we score first, things become extremely difficult for Atletico, because, you know, what do? They then come out and play us. And then leave themselves open to the possibility of conceding a second away goal, which would be massive for us. Now, having said that, on the other side of the coin, I wouldn't be too concerned if we did concede first, because conceding first actually doesn't make a difference to what we need to do. We need to go to Madrid and we have to score regardless. So I'm not overly concerned about us being a little exposed early on, as long as it's not, it doesn't get stupid. And, you know, we've seen in the past us cave in away from home. So we don't want that to happen. Of course, let's get a couple of goals on the night and see where we go from there. But it'll be tough. It'll be difficult. Atletico are a great side. You saw the passion come through at the Emirates on Thursday, the way they battled and the way they play for their manager. And that's something that I envy when I look at teams like that, because, you know, Simeone was sent to the stands, but the way those players came together, united to ensure that they did the business for him and get as best result as they could. So difficult. It's going to be difficult. Let me know you guys' predictions in the comments section below. Of course, got some more comments coming in here. I hope for Allegri. Bob Vape says he agrees with me regarding Jack Wilshere. He loves him, but he's been below par more often than not this year. Mickey, Ozil, Ramsey, Lacazette should be the front four. There's another comment coming through. Bob Vapes, Rambo to score first. Frank Gunner, 1-0 to the Arsenal. And Nathan Clark also agrees on Ainsley Maitland-Niles over Jack Wilshere. Interesting stuff, guys. Let me know what you think as well. Right, that brings us to the end of the Same Old Arsenal Extra Time. I've been rambling on for long enough on my own. I think my neighbours think that I'm talking to myself. Guys, don't forget to follow the Same Old Arsenal on Twitter at Same Old FC, and check out the podcast as well. Lee and Craig do a fantastic job. Really enjoyed their episode last week on the departure of Arsene Wenger, so check that out. Until next time, take care.